All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Q&A webinar for fall 2026. I think we're just going to wait and see if a few others jump in for like 30 more seconds, then we can get started. Alrighty, cool. What do we have? We have about 8 participants so far. Again, if you're not able to watch this live, we'll be sending it out, or if you have to leave early, we'll be sending it out. So no worries, but let's get into it. So first, 3 of us you'll be talking with quite frequently for the next year. So my name is Gabby. I'm the Teach in Spain coordinator. And then Lauren, if you want to introduce yourself.
Yep, I'm Lauren, the Teach Abroad manager. Worked at CIEE Teach Abroad for about 5 years now. And we have Tess,
Perfect.
who is not introducing herself. She's coming back tomorrow from parental leave, so she'll be helping us in fall 26.
Yes, exactly. Perfect. Um, and then we're just curious, have any of you been to Spain before? You can throw your answers in the chat if you want. And then also, why Spain?
And I'll enable the chat for everyone. Give me a sec. Okay,
Oh,
everyone
perfect.
should be good to
Thanks,
go.
Lauren.
And if you do have questions throughout, put your questions in the Q&A, and we'll answer those at the end.
Yeah, perfect.
Anyone been to Spain, or you could also raise your hand. If not, that's
That's
fine.
true.
Gabby, had you been to Spain before you taught in Spain?
No, I didn't, I guess, give you guys a little bit of a background. I participated in this program in 2022, and that was my first time ever in Spain. So I'd never been. I was excited to go. Obviously, fell in love with it, fell in love with everything about Spain. So, oh, cool, cool, cool. So I love it. Everybody is ahead of the game in this chat. They've all been. I love it.
Okay, and why Spain? If you want to put that in the chat, why are you choosing Spain? Gabby, why did you choose Spain?
Well, that was my first time ever in Europe as well.
Oh,
So it
wow.
was let's go experience something new. I always had the itch to teach, but my degree wasn't in education. So teaching abroad was the perfect route for me. And I thought, well, why not do it in a country I've never been before? So that was my conclusion.
Awesome.
All right, I'm seeing the vibrancy. Yes. No one said the food, but that would also be a good one. New opportunity to learn Spanish. Yes, that's a great one too. Okay, perfect. Well, then I will just get right into it. So, for the Teach Madrid program, the eligibility requirements, you must have a native level English fluency, a bachelor's degree in any field. Like I just mentioned, my degree wasn't in education. You can go as long as you just have a bachelor's degree. US citizenship, you must be under the age of 60 on January 1st of the upcoming academic year before you leave. And then also a passport with those 3 empty pages, and it must be valid for a year after the program ends. And then you must not have served as the same role, kind of, but for the previous year in the same region. So those are just kind of the eligibility requirements to keep you in the know for the program. And then Lauren's going to kick off kind of what's included in the program.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw a few more eligibility requirements as I'm thinking while you're talking, but
Perfect.
flexibility, adaptability, willingness to learn about a new country, willing to commute, hop on a train, hop on a bus. So we have those like hard things that we for sure need: the bachelor's degree, the passport, the age limits, citizenship, things like that. But then there's also those like soft skills that you're going to meet. Like a lot of Americans have never been on a metro before. A lot of Americans have never been on a bus. We all have our cars, we all drive, we're all used to that. You're going to be commuting, you're going to be learning about a lot of things that make you uncomfortable. So willing to dive in and just embrace this experience. throwing that out
Yeah,
there as well.
totally. I could not agree more. And which are almost as important, I would argue.
For sure, for sure. So the job placement is in the region of Madrid. That's where all our placements are. Madrid, the region of Madrid. We don't do Barcelona, we don't do other areas. But that's nice because when you meet your hundreds of other CIE teacher friends, you're all going to be within the same area. So it's really nice. And you're in a very central, huge city in Europe. 16 teaching hours per week. That means 16 classroom hours, not 16 hours at school. You might be at your school for 20 to 25 hours a week, with prep periods, breaks, coffee time, no napping. I know everyone's like, I want to take a siesta, but not at school. Let's not do that. But you will be in the classroom 16 hours a week. It is a 4-day work week. You get either Monday or Friday off. Your school typically will decide that. So don't go in expecting to be like, oh, well, all my friends have Fridays off, so I have to have Friday off. That's not necessarily the case. You'll have to be willing to work with your school on what schedule they have prepared for you. And €1,000 of monthly €1,000 monthly stipend. You get paid once a month into a Spanish bank account. And if you want to make extra money, you can tutor on the side if you're interested in making more than that. But people make that €1,000 work with savings when you get to Spain. So that's part of that. What is included in our program is job placement in Madrid, pre-departure assistance with a comprehensive online pre-departure course and visa guidance. Starting in January, February, like very early 2026, we'll start preparing you on the visa documents that you need so that you can apply for your visa at an appropriate time to get it back at a good time. And then we also have a very comprehensive course. I say course with quotes because we're not grading you on it, but it is a guide that is very, very helpful with how to set up your bank account, how to set up your cell phone, how to find housing, how does your health insurance work. It has everything you need to know about moving to Spain. I mean, it's something that you can access while you're in Spain as well. So you'll have access starting around May next year through your entire time in Spain for just your go-to questions. And you'll have international emergency insurance and Spanish health insurance. So your Spanish health insurance is a private insurance. It is part of the program fee. And then you're taken care of while you're in Spain. And then there's also an emergency insurance for lost and stolen items. So if you lose your cell phone, things like that, it's a reimbursement-based insurance. You'll have on-site orientation with activities for cultural activities and also logistics of obtaining certain important documents while you're in Spain. Guaranteed friends. There's a lot of people that go on this program, and you will be able to meet each other in a Facebook group in early 2026. And there's ongoing support from CIEE staff in Spain. So Gabby and I are both based, Gabby, Tess, and I are all based in the United States, but then we also have offices in Madrid where you'll meet the staff in Madrid. They're all local, they live there, and they'll be there for ongoing support, office hours if something happens and you need extra support while you're there. And then an optional hotel stay for the first 4 nights. So we sent out this email last week, I believe. The hotel used to be part of the program fee. Now we've reduced the program fee and you can add the hotel. It's a double occupancy option for your first 4 nights. We don't have a deadline on when you need to make that decision by. We'll let you know sometime in the spring. But historically, everyone's used the hotel, and now we want to make it optional. It is nice if you're wanting to make friends or you don't want to have to worry about where to stay the first few nights. You just want to be someone else deal with this for me. But also if you have somewhere to go, we don't need to force that on you. So that's an option. What is the job? Okay, so Gabby, go for it. Sorry, I'm just talking too much. As always.
It's so great. So yeah, I can get into what is the job. Essentially, like Lauren said, you'll be teaching around 16 hours per week, but you could be in the school about 20 to 25 hours per week. So you are a language and culture assistant. You're not the head teacher. You won't be expected to, be the lead in grading and making finals and doing things like that. You're pretty much assisting the head teacher. So you'll be in a bilingual or secondary school or vocational. And then this is also something, if you've already opened an application, you'll see that we have that preferences section where you can actually make a preference on which age group that you would like to be in. So that's a spot where you can make a note about that. And then like I said, you'll be assisting in the classroom. It could be a variety of subjects. You could be doing, I mean, when I was there, I think I was sitting in on everything that included art, science, government, things like that. A lot of times the teachers just love for the students to be hearing the lesson or hearing the verbiage from a not a local, I guess, in Spain, from a native English speaker. Words are not happening this morning. So a lot of times they like to hear your accent. They like to hear, how you're using sentences in that way. So essentially, you're not necessarily creating lesson plans. There might be some little projects. They'll say, hey, can you talk about maybe your favorite cultural activity from home that you like to do, from your home country, from your home state, maybe your favorite holiday. Present that to the class. But all in all, you won't be in charge of the group of students yourself. So ultimately, you're just there to support the teachers and the duties that they'll be giving you. Of course, it'll vary from school to school, but generally that's kind of how it goes. Lauren, is there anything else that you can think of adding on that?
Good explanation. We do have some questions we can answer as we go if you're fine with that. We'll
Go
take
for
them
it.
at the end. Better to put them in the Q&A rather than the chat, but we'll get these from the chat right now. I think this one's related to what you were just going over is what is the average class size, Gabby? And for planning and preparation, will a laptop be necessary?
So the average class size, I would say, so I was in primary school and I would say it was around 20 students, 20 to 25-ish. Of course, it varies not only on your school, but on your age group. So the roommate that I had in Spain, she was at a vocational school where she had classes of 10, so it definitely varies, but it can be either or. And then what was that other question that you mentioned?
Is a laptop necessary?
Okay. It's not necessary. You really don't need to bring a lot of school materials. I think a lot of teachers tend to want to bring things that they want to give to students. If there's a specific candy that you like that maybe your school allows you to bring in, or things like from your home state or if you have specific, stickers, sticky notes, things like that. But ultimately, you don't really need to be prepared with a lot of school materials. I think I brought my iPad and used that a lot. But again, not super necessary, I would say.
Yeah, but having an iPad is it's a bonus, but it's not a requirement. The
For sure.
school should provide all of your material.
Yes.
Cool. I want to go on to the next. We'll get to more questions at the end too. Just that was related. Cool.
No,
okay. So placements are placements are in the region of Madrid. Sorry, Gabby and I are both also, if you can't tell by our voices, we're a little sick. So we're doing our best over here. We're between holidays. We're a little sick, that time of year. So all placements are in the region of Madrid, this triangle that you see. You can see the center. And most placements are outside the city center. So do be aware that you're probably going to be in one of the burbs, but they don't call it the little small cute villages. Let's call it that rather than the burbs. But all schools are accessible by public transportation, buses, metro. And we do our best to put you in your preferred now I'm spacing out preferred preferences, but we cannot make guarantees. But we do have information like in your application, you'll see a community guide that tells you kind of like what that looks like. We don't have to worry about that now because that's in your application. But also, actually, I got this question yesterday from someone she was filling out her application and she's like, where should I put that I want to be placed? Like, I'm really worried. And I'm like, don't worry about that now. Put down something and then you can make edits to that up to like April. So just because you're applying for this program doesn't mean you need to have the answer on where you want to be placed in the community of Madrid. But the answer to that question is I'm happy to be placed anywhere because I'm excited to go to Spain and I'm going to be in the region of Madrid and I'm going to have a commutable, I'm going to have access by public transportation. And what we highly recommend too with that level of flexibility is we'll talk about housing in a second, but you don't be set on living in a specific neighborhood until you know where your school is, because then you can kind of see how you want your commute to look. Speaking of housing.
Speaking of housing, so like Lauren said, historically, everybody would stay in that orientation hotel, and this is where a lot of teachers tend to find roommates. Up until arriving in Spain, we do add all participants to a Facebook group, kind of with your own cohort of other teachers going at the same time. And this is where a lot of people tend to start to connect, but orientation is really when people are like, okay, cool, we click. Maybe do you want to be roommates? So that's what's super nice about orientation week and staying in that hotel. And you kind of get to, pick and choose. You'll be meeting hundreds and hundreds of people during that week. So it's always a good opportunity. And then I would say on average, right now, we've been taking surveys each year from all of our teachers who are currently living in the region of Madrid. The average monthly rent is $4,450 to $700 per month. Of course, and is shared. And of course, as you would expect, living alone, if you get a studio to yourself in the center of Madrid, it's going to cost more. So they definitely vary on exactly where and how many people that you're living with. And then on average, it probably takes about 2 to 3 weeks after arrival to find housing. Again, that's where having that orientation hotel really comes in handy. So it's about 4 nights that you kind of help get your feet on the ground. You're going to orientation, like you're meeting with people during that week. And then most people will have, if not, a lot of people by the time they get to Spain during that week, they'll rent either an Airbnb, a hotel, hostel, or what have you about a week or two after orientation, just so that they have a spot to keep their things while they're apartment hunting. Super scary to try to commit to something before you land in Spain because we don't want you to be caught up in a scam. You definitely want to be physically in Spain, physically in that apartment that you're thinking about before committing, before sending a commitment deposit. In my experience, I met people during orientation. We booked an Airbnb while I was in Spain at orientation for 1 more week. And after that end of the week, I was able to find housing with almost everybody else in that Airbnb except one girl. And then she took 1 more week. So that definitely relates to the 2 to 3 weeks after arrival to finding housing. But yeah, again, super, super okay to wait until you're physically in Spain to start looking at physical apartments. We'll be sending guides on housing and certain tips and tricks and apps that you might want to download beforehand to feel prepared. But ultimately, don't commit to anything once you're in there, and be patient while you're house hunting as well. Definitely. Lauren, anything else you can think of?
Yeah, I was gonna just add, it takes average 2 to 3 weeks. It can definitely take more if you're picky or you're not doing your due diligence and like scheduling your landlord appointments. I've met people at orientation and they're like, I have 10 meetings with landlords this week. And I'm like, that's amazing. You're gonna have something. And there's some who are like, I've not thought about housing yet. I'm like, great, you should get an Airbnb for a month. So it really depends on how much of a go-getter you are. So think of who you are as a person and what you need for you.
I definitely agree with that. I think booking as many apartment tours as possible is definitely going to put you on the map because, again, a lot of people move to Spain in the fall. And so you're thinking about all these other people are doing apartment tours at the same time as you. So book as many as you can. What's it going to lose? You see one that maybe you don't like, who cares? Just see as many as possible, call as many apartments as possible. Because like Lauren said, if you're not doing it, if you're not calling people, then it's going to take you longer to find housing for sure.
Yep. We'll get more into that, later
Yeah.
on. Just a quick overview. The Spanish visa. Everyone will need to get a Spanish visa unless you have a valid EU passport. If you have an EU passport, make sure that's on your application or email it to us. I'm going to put our email in the chat, even though you should have it because this is how you learned that there was this event today. But I'm putting it in there anyway. And please put questions in the Q&A. We'll take care of those at the end. They're just going to get lost in the chat. So you will need to obtain a visa. I've helped probably 5,000 people get Spanish visas and it's super fun. I love it. The visa process does require flexible spring and summer plans because you're going to give up your passport to the consulate for several weeks. We say on average 4 to 6 weeks. That's what we're seeing right now. It could be up to 8 weeks, sometimes longer if you miss some paperwork. It is annoying to apply for a visa, but it's also, it works out. It just works out. You have the paperwork. It's fine. It's kind of annoying. We'll host some webinars in early 2026 so that you know what documents you need to start collecting. You are responsible for the visa costs and traveling to the location. I'm going to say probably every single person will have to travel in 2026 to their consulate. There are 9 consulates in the US. And you have to go to the one that is designated based on your driver's license ID. So if you live in Alaska, you have to travel to San Francisco. I know that sucks, but we're trying to warn you early in advance so that you can make those plans. We'll have more information on that later, but just letting you know you need to have some flexibility in the spring and summer. If you're worried about some travel plans, please email us. Don't put that in the Q&A because everyone has a case-by-case itinerary or situation. So we can definitely answer those questions by email later on.
Perfect. And then just because I see it's related to the visa, when does the process start to apply for the visa?
Yeah, so in January, February, you're going to be obtaining some documents for your visa. We're going to start talking about that then. We'll invite you all to like basically a Q&A on what you need for that. But you're going to be applying for your visa probably around March, April, as late as June. But we really want you to apply early because the process can just, it kind of is crazy every year. So we want people to apply earlier. But we will definitely share that information in early January and February.
All right. And then options for TEFL, Lauren, if you want to jump in with TEFL for them.
Yep. So TEFL is teaching English as a foreign language certificate. We have a few different options if you're interested in getting TEFL certified. The 150-hour option is like the standard one. That is, I think if it's over 120 hours, it's globally recognized and you can teach anywhere, basically anywhere in the world with that TEFL certificate. So the 150 is good. It's an online course for 11 weeks, pretty much like 12 to 15 hours on your own time during that week. There's small classes, they have a dedicated course instructor, and it's globally recognized and accredited. So you can use it anywhere in the world. If you're unsure if you want to get TEFL certified, you can always do the 60-hour.
So sorry.
You're fine. The 60-hour certificate, that is an option if you're like, oh, well, maybe I want to get TEFL certified, but I'm not really sure. And that's just a shorter one that still helps you understand how to teach English as a foreign language. I think as native English speakers, we're so used to just like, we don't like know how we learned English. We just did. So it's interesting to see like how it actually works and help you become a better teacher in the classroom and build confidence. So those are options. If you're interested, I'm going to put in the chat as well the TEFL. Oh, well, it's also on the slide, but we'll have it here. TEFL at CIEE.org if you want to learn more and sign up for a course.
Perfect. Especially because when you first arrive in Spain and we have that orientation, during those 4 days, we're teaching you kind of how to live in Spain. We're not teaching you how to teach. So this is the perfect kind of dive into that if you're not familiar or don't have experience in that.
And just to go back on that too is there's some teachers who they start teaching their first week and they're like, I have no idea what I'm doing. And I'm like, I know, but you're going to figure it out. Also, you could have gotten TEFL certified. So it's not required, but it does really help you build confidence and just go into like your first day or week of teaching and being like, okay, I am like, everyone will have imposter syndrome. You're living in another country, but it will help you feel confident about what you're doing. And you can use those tools you learn in your course. So I just think it's a really good way to just start. That helped me when I went and taught. I taught in South Korea and I was like, okay, like, I think I remember this from my course and it made me feel good before I went. And also I hated public speaking before. And now I just don't stop talking, as you can see.
We love it. We need it. Perfect. Okay, what happens when I get to Spain? So arrival will be throughout the month of September. So we'll have a few different orientation arrival dates that you can get to pick. Once you've been accepted in the program, we'll kind of take a survey and see which date works best for you. Like we've been mentioning, there's that in-person orientation, the optional hotel stay this year. During that time, like we've mentioned, you'll be apartment hunting with your new best friends or Spanish friends or anyone that you've met that week. Travel around, you'll get to know the city during orientation week. They'll take you on little tours around. They'll teach you how to use the metro if you've never used the metro before. You can practice your commute, after orientation and your apartment hunting, or you find your apartment and you think, what should I do other than go out for tapas every afternoon? Let's practice the commute to school. You'll be setting up banking, working on your residency, getting your Spanish background check. So these are all things that we talk about in Spain during orientation. And this is also something that might be available for you to ask. Like you'll have an orientation leader during that week. My orientation leader, shout out Rosie, was the best ever. She took my orientation group cohort to the bank, help us set them up. My group went and got our phone plans all together, things like that. Naturally, you'll gravitate towards people who need to be doing the same things as you. Maybe there's a group of people waiting outside. We haven't gotten our phone plans yet. Jump in, go get your phone plan with them. These are all things that you'll be doing your first week of Spain. And then, school will begin on October 1st. So if you choose to arrive maybe the beginning of September, you might have a little window in between your school start date and orientation. If you choose to arrive towards the end, you might be going in a swift orientation, move in, school begins. So that's kind of how maybe your first week might look when you arrive, your first couple of weeks, I should say.
Now what? Is this a slide to it looks okay. Oh no, I don't know. Sorry. It looks like it froze for a second. Okay.
It probably did.
Yeah, complete your application by February 1st. Previously we did have a March 1st deadline, so I do want to be transparent about that. The reason for February 1st is we are able to get your government letters earlier, meaning we need to move our deadline up earlier, which means you're allowed to apply for your visa earlier, which means you have more peace of mind in the summer that your visa is approved. So moving everything up allows for more wiggle room and time to make sure everything is efficient as possible. Get TEFL certified, of course, start budgeting and saving. We also want to be transparent that you need to have at least $4,500 in savings when you arrive in Spain, because there are costs of living expenses before you get your first paycheck. If you're starting teaching on October 1st, you don't get paid till the first week of November. You're arriving sometime in September. You need to have savings for your rent and your deposit and your groceries and your saying yes to everything because I'm in a new country budget. So just make sure you have savings and are working on that now, because at least once a year we have someone who has to drop out last minute because they're like, the day before they go to Spain, they're like, oh, I don't have enough money in savings. And it's a huge bummer when they had worked so hard to get here and didn't save enough. Learn Spanish. It's good to go to Spain with knowledge of Spanish. It is not a requirement for the position. You can go with zero knowledge of Spanish, but it is going to make your life easier if you know some of the basics. You're going to be talking to landlords and you should not expect them to speak English. Of course, we have phones and technology and Google Translate, and it's very easy now. Super easy to get by, but it should be a goal to learn Spanish while you're in Spain. So start learning now. Make friends in our Facebook group. That'll be coming soon. And then letting CIEE will be helping you along the way. We're going to have tons of webinars in the coming months about the visa process, the classroom and professionalism in Spain. How does placements work? How does housing work? How does insurance work? What does, we have an online pre-departure orientation. We actually have one next week for our January cohort. So we have tons of information. Our goal by the time you get to Spain is that you're so sick of us because you're like, they told me everything. I know everything. Okay, we can go. Yeah. So yeah, we want to make sure this process is smooth for you. That's a big goal of ours. And questions. Okay, Gabby, I'll read them. I'll answer some. You'll answer some. We'll go from there.
Okay.
So can you submit your application if your recommendation is not completed yet?
So you can submit your application and you'll be in that submitted status. However, we won't be able to review it unless we receive your recommendation. Your recommender should be receiving an automatic email if you submit their details on your application. However, if they have any issues, they can always email it to us, to the email that Lauren put in the chat, or teach@ciee.org. If they have any issues, definitely just email it to us. But should all work out quite nicely. But yeah.
Yeah, ultimately you can submit it, but we can't review it till we get it. How is the process different for EU citizens in getting residency in Spain? We don't know because we don't work on residency in Spain. We work on getting people teach abroad jobs in Spain, but for residency, that's something you'd have to look into independently. How large is the CIEE cohort? So in your group, so we send several groups to orientation. You'll be in a group of 100 to 150 or so, maybe up to 200, but there's a lot in each cohort. And then we have 4 or 5 groups that go. So a lot of people, plenty of friends.
Plenty of friends.
Yep. Have people ever rented a car when searching for housing? No.
Not that I know of. I think the public transportation in Madrid is quite superior in my opinion, and I think a lot of people would agree. Yeah, the Madrid metro, super quick, super easy. It's honestly, the buses and the trains in Spain quite frequently are quicker than driving a car, to be honest.
Yeah, you're not going to want to drive in Madrid. It is a total nightmare in traffic, and also I think it's illegal, like unless you have an international driver's license, but it is very, very, very difficult to get a driver's license in Spain. And no one should be driving, honestly. You can also use Bolt, which is like equivalent of Uber, if you really wanted to get somewhere quickly. They also have Uber too. So if you're like, no, I want to get, I mean, like Gabby just said, metro's quick. But if you're like, no, I don't feel like it, you can get in an Uber or Bolt. What differentiates CIEE from other programs like NELCAP? So my favorite moment was when I was at orientation in 2023 and someone from NELCAP snuck into our orientation and came up to me and said, I'm from NELCAP. I don't know how to get my residency and I need a lot of help, but don't tell the CIEE staff that I'm here. And I was like, cool, I'm CIEE staff, so you can't be here. But ultimately, we help you with your documents, your paperwork, your checklists, your to-dos. We have our orientation. We do hotel stay. We help you with the visa process. We have the guaranteed placement in the region of Madrid. We're very organized. Like we can help you get things done without you having to have the stress of, am I going to get a job? Am I going to have this? Am I going to, like you will with CIEE. So we're very organized. And we also like create community of like, you have us before you go, you have your friends who you're going to meet through the groups. You're going to meet people in person. You're going to have the CIEE staff ongoing for the duration of your program. You're going to have your Spanish health insurance. So just, I think the ease of things and the additional resources that we provide.
Yeah, I was definitely going to highlight the community aspect of it because I think moving across the world, when you move with a program like CIEE, you're coming with the cohort of hundreds of other teachers. It makes moving abroad seem not as alienated. And I feel like, one, the connections that you'll see people randomly on the street, odds are high that you'll be placed at a school with another CIEE teacher. And then again, you know, everywhere you go, you'll probably meet someone through CIEE. And it's great. It's really great.
When we arrive for orientation, will we know our school assignments by then to help us find our roommates who need to commute to the same area? Yes. So you will know your school assignments a couple of months in advance. So you'll be able to, even like Gabby said earlier, we don't recommend having a housing contract before you go, but you can have ideas of where you might want to live, and be able to like find other people who are also in the same area as you. If someone had a DUI in 2008, would that stop them from getting a visa? Probably not, but why don't you send us an email with your state of residency and we can give you the contact information to reach out directly to the consulate and ask. But a DUI in 2008 was almost 20 years ago. It's probably going to be okay, but we also can't answer that for certain. I can't answer yes or no. When
Perfect.
is the due date for the fall application? So February 1st. And how long does it take to find out if we're accepted? We try to get back to people within 2 weeks of applications, but with the holidays coming up now, our 2 week turnaround time will start like mid-January. Right now, we're probably like we have the last 2 weeks off in December, so we'll not be working. So you won't hear from us during the holidays. So it's kind of a weird time. If you apply in January, you'll hear with us probably within 2 weeks, maybe 3 at the most. How many of you completed TEFL? I got a TEFL certificate. I'd say like half or more than half of our teach staff have been TEFL certified. Gabby, are you forget?
Yes, I got TEFL certified
Okay, perfect.
before
Yeah, so
teaching.
I'd say
Yeah,
almost all of our teach staff are TEFL certified.
I was thinking, yeah.
What percentage chose to get certified? I'm assuming that's TEFL related. I don't have my data up in front of my face right now, but I would say a lot if you like that answer. I'm not 100% sure. What does working on residency mean? I don't know because it's not related. I think that's a question that's not related to teach abroad. What month
I
does
think she
school end?
means, I think they might mean maybe when you said when
Oh,
you get in
you're
Spain,
right.
our team will help you work on
Sorry,
getting
I
your
thought they
resident
meant like EU
forever.
citizenship. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah.
Gabby, you want to explain that one? I'm sorry. I feel like I dismissed that question a little bit. Go for
Yeah.
it, Gabby.
So obviously we've mentioned we help you get your visa for when you arrive in Spain. Um, but then our team on the ground will help you get your residency for the year that you're going to be staying in Spain. So um, there's a little bit more that they'll be walking you through, a little bit more paperwork, and then you'll actually be going into the Spanish consulate there to get your residency so that it'll last you the entirety of the year. Lauren did mention, yes, we don't work with that specific paperwork, but our team on the ground in Spain
Yeah.
does.
Our team in Madrid is they do this as their job. So they'll
Yeah.
be good. What month does school end? What month do we leave, Gabby?
School ends in June, depending on the school. So you could either work throughout the entirety of June, and your last day could be, the very end. Some teachers are like, hey, we're just doing finals, we're doing tests. You're done by the beginning of June. It really ultimately depends on your school.
You should plan to be there till June 30th, though. The school year
Definitely.
ends June 30th, so you should not plan to leave beforehand. That'll be
Yeah.
something your school will say probably May 31st because it's Spain.
Yeah. Perfect.
Does our visa get approved before we make the final payment to CIE? When do we make the final payment? No, your visa will not be approved before you make the final payment because that process happens throughout the spring. The final payment will be due in February when we get your visa letter. So you need to make the final payment in order to obtain your official government visa letter. And then you'll get your visa like this year, because we're moving things up, it could be anywhere from probably May through August. So you'll be applying for your visa after you make your final payment. Is TEFL certificate mandatory for the program? Not mandatory, highly recommended. So that's something you can decide later on. And we can talk about that. You can have a chat with us one-on-one, see if it's a good fit for you. Spring 2027, that application is not open yet. We will probably open the spring 2027 application in this upcoming spring, like around May. What time do you have to commit to the program? We would want you to commit to the program by early February because that's when we're going to be getting your government letters and you'll be starting the visa process. Please put questions in the Q&A. I saw something else pop up in the chat and it's just easier if it's in the Q&A. Do we need to be do we need to be certified to apply for TEFL is highly recommended, not required. What is the general age range of the cohorts? I'd say it's about 1/3 are recent college grads, like 22, 23 years old. And then another third is under 30, and then another third is over 30. I don't have that data in front of my face, but that's from like my most recent look at age ranges. So it is all over the place. It was in the slide. I'm not sure what that means. Sorry.
That might be from
Is
the
that the
residency.
got it? Okay, okay, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
When is orientation? We're gonna have 2 different orientations in September. We're finalizing dates. And we will let you know when those dates are, probably in the spring or like around the time that you commit to the program. But in September. If the visa is not approved, do we get money back that CIEE paid for? Your visa should be approved. Everyone's visa is approved unless you have a passport that does not have 3 blank pages, or unless you have something on your criminal background check that you are worried about. Like, for example, someone asked about a DUI. What I would say is, if you're worried about something on your background check, send us the information privately to teachinspain@ciee.org, and we can direct you on thinking. Like, we have seen visas rejected before, but everyone whose visa was rejected, they knew there was a possibility of their visa being rejected. So ultimately, as long as you do the checklist of what we tell you on time, your visa is going to be approved. If you have a trip planned in the beginning of May, when do you suggest getting the visa, before or after May? I would suggest probably after, but I'm also going to see when those government letters come out specifically for you and see if you would have time to apply beforehand. I would suggest probably after, though. Is there a shorter school semester starting in January? So we always have a January through June program, but that application is not open yet. If you go in the fall, you stay for the duration of your contract. Is it common for people to renew their teaching assignment at the end of the school year and teach abroad for a second year? Yes, more than 50% last year did choose to stay and do a second year. Gabby, you did 1 or 2, I forgot, because you were all over the place with lots of different things.
I did 1 because I already had plans to move elsewhere afterwards, but if I didn't already have plans, I would have stayed. Nearly all of my friends stayed, so very high percentage.
Cool. Sorry, I kind of took over that Q&A. I was just
no, that's perfect. You were on a roll. It was perfect.
If you do only have a semester, can you renew and stay longer? Gabby.
Yes. If you do the 6-month option, like Lauren mentioned, that begins in January, you can renew for another year.
Yes, and you would renew for a full academic year, meaning you do like a year and a half.
Yes. I'm not seeing any Q&As.
Awesome. I think good questions though. Love the questions. We to my.ciee.org to complete your application. Okay. We are accepting applications now. If you get it in today, you're not going to hear from us until January. Sorry, we're only here for another week and a half before the holidays. But if you do get it in, you'll hear from us early in January.
And if you are interested to see what the teachers are doing now on the program, definitely look at the socials. If you look at Instagram, we always have takeovers going on. We always have teachers physically in country using our Instagram just to show you the daily life. So definitely lock in, look at those if you're interested.
Perfect. Oh, I see a few more questions. What is the weekly schedule like once assigned? How about Gabby? You answer that based on your experience, but then also like it depends.
Yeah, well, it's so true. It does depend. I think my schedule went from like 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. And that's because we didn't have a siesta in the middle of the day. A lot of schools will go until 4 p.m. because they'll have a 2-hour break. You can go get lunch. You can go home and nap. You can go get lunch, like with your coworkers, do whatever you want. So I would say either most schedules might be from like 8 or 9-ish to 2 or 4-ish, depending on that schedule or depending on the school.
I have seen schedules like in secondary schools where they maybe have to work till like 8 p.m. So, you have a long day on Monday or like Tuesday, but then the next day you work like 1 to 2 hours. So it's like, it could also vary if it's a vocational or secondary school. Primary is a little more consistent with that 8-9 to 2-4. So it depends. And I'd say it just takes a level of flexibility of being like, I'm going to show up on the first day at 8 or 9 a.m. and then I'll figure it out probably not in the first week, but maybe in the second week they'll have a schedule for me. So it's a lot different than the US where we're very used to having like answers before we go and schedules and itineraries and plans and blah blah blah. And you go to Spain and you're like, I haven't heard from my school yet, and it's day one. And you show up and they're like, oh, good, you're here. Like, it's fine. So,
Yeah.
not saying that happens to everyone, but I do want to prepare you for cases like that.
Well, and I, like speaking from experience, I received no contact from my school before the first day. And then I walked in. They did have a semi set schedule, which was odd. Like most of the time, they won't have one until after your first week or so. But yeah, I didn't receive any communication. And then I walk in and they're like, oh, hey. So don't think just because you haven't received anything from your school that they hate you. They're just busy.
And in the summer they're on holiday, they're not worrying about it. So they're just
Yeah.
like, oh, we're not worried. Their academic year actually starts September 1st, when the language assistants come in October 1st. So the first like 4 weeks, they're just figuring out what they're doing for the academic year.
Exactly.
Even like with me teaching in South Korea, like I showed up on day one and they're like, we actually don't know what we're going to do with you this month. So go read this book. So I like
Yeah.
self-taught myself to read Korean. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm getting paid to teach myself how to read Korean. So it is different than Spain. But like when you go and teach in another country, it's just, you just have to like go with the flow. I'll
Yeah.
answer two more questions, then we're going to wrap up. You mentioned tutoring. What would you tutor? Would you need a certificate to do that? I'd say if you have a TOEFL certificate, you can probably charge more because you'd be like more marketable. But Gabby, did you tutor and how was your experience?
I did. Yeah, you can probably make about 15 to 30 euros an hour tutoring. There's no shortage of people who want to be tutored or people who have kit students that they want to be tutored. So you'll definitely find opportunities either if not through your school, then there are a lot of local Facebook groups that, you know, if you search, I don't know, auxiliars needed and or tutors needed in Madrid, you're going to find a lot of opportunities. I had some friends who tutored so much they were making over 100 euros a week extra, you know, for groceries, going out, things like that. And then I also had a friend who tutored once a week and just made, you know, an extra 20 euros a week. So definitely depends on your schedule, depends on how much extra cash that you want to be putting in your pocket.
And last question, do we get placed in a school with other members of the cohort or are some individual? So that we work with like hundreds of schools in the community of Madrid, so it's going to depend. I'd say I don't even want to say most, but a lot of people are assigned with other CIE teachers, but we can't guarantee that. It'll depend. So not a clear answer on that because it's all over the place. If you have other questions, though, we will wrap it up now. If you have other questions, you can email us. We get back to everyone within 24 hours. But thank you so much for coming today. Thanks, Gabby.
Yeah, thanks guys. Have a good rest of your day.
Bye bye.